As a parent, you often look back on when you were a kid and think of all the things you wish you learned. You want to create less anxiety and shame, more happiness, and more confidence. Imagining the struggles they may experience in life often feels too painful to even think about. Imagining the healthy, unhealthy, or even abusive relationships they could encounter is usually something parents don't always want to face and discuss. We asked some Cal Poly students what they wish they learned about as kids.
Growing up in elementary school, I didn't really have that much of an understanding of what consent was.
I feel like as an elementary schooler, I never thought much about boundaries or consent. They weren't things that had been talked to me about in those terms.
I would say I didn't have a very good understanding of healthy relationships and consent, especially with friendships I had with my guy friends too. There was some things that they would say or do and I didn't know how to be like, that is not okay with me, that makes me feel bad.
Whether or not you think it's okay, like somebody else might think it's completely not okay.
Tiptoeing around very sensitive topics, even with implementing dress codes and things like that, that was a situation that was first kind of brought to us later years in elementary school.
I think as a kid, I could have benefited from learning that it's not as personal.
I think that I've had difficulty at times in relationships being able to voice or feeling like I was in the position to say, oh, this is making me feel bad one way or another.
Nowadays, it is harder for people to communicate in general just because of social media and everything and kind of being stayed to your screens.
It could have helped me be more vocal at a younger age, felt more comfortable using my voice because I had been taught to earlier.
The older you get, it's harder to break those behaviors that are instilled in you.
That's why Lumina Alliance, in partnership with Cal Poly, is prioritizing early education with students in kindergarten through 6th grade. We want to help kids learn how to talk about consent, boundaries, and healthy relationships. We want less violence and harm. Through decades of research on the parent and child relationship, we know that frequent and casual conversations are one of the most important ways we can help kids.
I wish someone had been more open to that discussion.
I think it's good for children to learn earlier that everyone's allowed to have their feelings and communicate them in a healthy way.
I think it can be hard for kids to speak up and be confrontational, especially because they're younger than most people around them. They feel like they don't have as much power, their voice isn't as big, and you're taught that the adults have the important things to say.
I think that there's a big fear of being controversial and losing your friends, especially at a young age.
Learning about consent, boundaries, and healthy relationships earlier, I think would have helped me in some of my later relationships, having better expectations about what the relationship should look like healthier balance in friendships and romantic relationships.
Children are people and everyone just needs help. It's okay to ask for help. Yeah. It's not something that people should be afraid of. It's an example of being your own self-advocate.
Not talking about what goes into a relationship in order to make it healthy makes it hard to build those for yourself.
I feel like me personally, I would have learned, even carrying into adult life, how to better set boundaries with other people.
I think it would lead to a new generation of more healthy relationships because I feel like other generations have learned about this stuff, but we're at a time, especially in history and with our culture, that this is being taught more, it's being emphasized more, there's more of a recognition on it. And so the next generation, there's more hope for them.
We are hoping for a future where communication on tough topics like consent and boundaries is the norm, and silence is rare. Historically, these talks, if they happen at all, take place during the teen years. This is too late. Kids are wondering, talking, and forming opinions early on. And it's our choice as a community if we want to rise to the occasion and give kids accurate information that could change their lives, or we could ignore the call to action. Whether we want to talk about it or not, kids do, and they will find ways to learn. We just hope they can learn this important information from their parents and other trusted adults.